for the listener, when they're coming up with their avatar for their podcast or for their company, is that a real human being or do they make them up?
I think it's helpful to start with a real human being, because there's going to be those instances where you've worked with clients and they are like, gosh, if every client could be like this person, I would just have the best business in the world. I'd be the happiest person on earth, right? And if you have someone like that, absolutely, by all means, base it off of them. If you don't have someone like that, well, then where do you start, right? It becomes a little more, not confusing, but a little trickier to say, okay, well, who is this person? And am I just pulling this out of thin air? Does this person even exist, right? And what I would say is start with someone who fits the bill as best as possible, right? Maybe it's not your most perfect person, but it's your most coachable person. Or pick a quality or characteristic that you really like about that person. You know, they show up, they pay on time, they're coachable, they do what you tell them to do, right? Start with those characteristics. And then you can further build out that profile to create someone who is truly ideal for you if you don't already have someone like that starting out. One of the reasons this is important, and Adam, one of the reasons I like starting with a real person and using their name in your mind is because when you sit down to record, you can pull their picture up and you can start your episode and say, hey, James, today we're going to be talking about, and you go on with your episode, right? And what that does is that it attunes your brain to your listener and it changes the way your voice sounds. Might sound crazy, but there's a whole thing there with the psychology of the voice. And this is a big one because a lot of people tell me, I don't like the sound of my voice. I don't like listening to myself, right? And I get it. I don't sit there and listen to my own podcast episodes either, but it will help you connect with your listener. This is an audio medium. They're not necessarily watching the live stream of this on YouTube, right? Or the repurposed content that you posted somewhere. They're listening. And so they've got to be able to connect with you. So by basing your avatar on a real person, you're already connected with that person. So it gives you a leg up. It's an invisible element. No one's ever going to know this. This is not something that anyone's going to see, right? Like they would see your cover art. They're not going to see this, but they'll hear it. And when you can really focus your topics to that person, it does help because it makes it more tangible. You know, because you're sitting in a room recording by yourself. You're not really talking to anyone. You are, people are listening, but, you're recording by yourself. And like, am I just talking to the walls here? And it can help ground you and actually deliver your topic in a way that, you would coach your client on exactly the same way. And that'll make a difference for you. So
should we be thinking of an audience when we are recording? 100 people or 1,000 people or however many people listen to our show. Let's just say it's 3,500 per episode. Should we be thinking of the 3,500 people and us standing on a stage delivering to them? Or should we think of whoever that avatar is and just having like a one-on-one conversation with a person? What do you think?
I'll tell you what I do. I just speak to one person. That's going to come out in your voice as well. And actually, I don't limit that school of thought to my podcast. I do that if I'm delivering a live webinar. I do that if I'm speaking from stage. I gear it all towards one person and then deliver it in a way that I would just tell that person. I would talk to them. I was literally last week filming a series of upgraded videos for one of our programs. Before I hit record, I would think in my mind, which of my clients is this for, right? We have a few people who are ideal. And I would get one person's name in my mind. And I would say, all right, Christina, so today we're going to dive into this, right? And exactly what I mentioned before you hit record, but it's not just limited to your podcast. So I like doing it for one person because, again, I feel like it is one of those invisible elements, but it helps you create a deeper connection because in your mind, when you get on stage to present something to people, right? It's like we put on this jacket that we're like, I don't really know if this fits me, right? We put on this persona that isn't really you. Yeah. And at the end of the day, a podcast is such a powerful tool, as you know, and as those listening know, to create trust. That's the goal. But if people can't connect with you, they won't trust you.